The forest was silent, too silent, until a whisper crawled through the trees, calling my name from the darkness. Story 1. Whispers in the Woods. The forest was silent, too silent, until a whisper crawled through the trees, calling my name from the darkness. At first, I thought it was the wind. I told myself the sound was just the breeze slipping through the pine needles, whistling like a distant voice. But then it came again, soft, drawn out, and unmistakable. Elliot. My blood turned to ice. I froze mid-step, my boots sinking into the damp earth. The name echoed in my ears, not loud but somehow close, like it was whispered right behind me. I spun around. Nothing, only the endless tangle of trees, their gnarled branches stretching like skeletal hands in every direction. I wasn't supposed to be out here this late. My friends had dared me to spend the night in Hollow Pine Forest, a place wrapped in local legends. They called it the Listening Woods, where voices call you deeper until you never come back. I laughed it off, said I didn't believe in ghost stories. Now, standing alone in the thick blackness, I wasn't so sure. I turned on my flashlight. The beam cut through the fog, slicing across twisted trunks and rotting logs. No movement. No sound. Still, my heart hammered like a war drum. I told myself to keep walking, find a clearing, maybe set up camp. The rules of the dare were simple: stay until sunrise, no running back. If I did, I'd never live it down. Elliot. The whisper came again, softer this time, stretched thin, like it was being dragged across broken glass. I clenched my teeth, my breath clouding in the cold air. Who the hell was calling my name? My friends couldn't have followed me. They were back at the trailhead, drinking beer, laughing about how stupid I was. I swallowed hard and shouted, "Who's there?" The trees swallowed my voice whole. No echo, no response. Just that suffocating silence pressing down on me like a weight. I kept moving, quick steps crunching on dead leaves. My flashlight flickered once, twice, then went out. Shit. I smacked it against my palm. Nothing. Total darkness swallowed me, so thick I could barely see my own hands. I fumbled for my phone, but before I could pull it out. Don't run. This time, the voice wasn't distant. It was right behind me. Right in my ear. I spun around, swinging the dead flashlight like a weapon, but there was no one there. My breath came in sharp gasps, my skin prickled with cold sweat. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. It was like the trees had grown taller, leaning inward, hemming me in. Then, from the darkness ahead, I saw it, a light. A small, pale glow between the trunks, pulsing faintly, like a lantern swaying in the wind. Relief flooded me. Maybe someone else was out here, a camper, a ranger, someone who could help. I stumbled toward it, tripping over roots, branches snagging my jacket. The glow led me deeper into the woods, farther from the path. I should have stopped. Every step felt wrong, but I couldn't. Something about that light drew me in like a moth to a flame. When I reached the clearing, the glow vanished. I froze. My eyes darted across the empty space. No lantern. No person. Only trees, twisted and black, their branches clawing at the sky. And then I saw them, figures. Dozens of them. They stood between the trees, motionless, their faces pale and featureless, like masks carved from bone. Some were tall, others hunched and crooked, but all of them stared at me with hollow, empty eyes. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back, heart pounding so hard it hurt. The whisper came again, but now it was a chorus. 100 voices, low and broken, all rasping my name. Elliot, stay, stay. I turned and ran. Branches whipped my face, tore at my clothes. The forest was alive with whispers, surrounding me, pressing close. My flashlight dangled useless in my grip as I crashed through the underbrush. I didn't know where I was going, just away, as far away as I could get. But the trees never ended. No matter how far I ran, the forest stretched on, an endless black labyrinth. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. Not until I saw it, the trail. The narrow strip of dirt cutting through the trees. I almost cried with relief. I burst onto the path, sprinting toward the direction I thought led back to the trailhead. My chest heaved, every breath a knife in my ribs. I didn't dare look back. Then I saw the campfire. It flickered in the distance, warm and orange, and around it, shapes moved, human shapes. My friends. I could hear their voices, faint but real, laughing, calling my name. Elliot. Over here. Tears blurred my vision. I ran harder, almost collapsing with every step. When I reached the clearing, I fell to my knees, gasping, clutching the dirt. My friends surrounded me, their faces concerned, their hands grabbing my shoulders. Dude, what the hell happened? You look like you saw a ghost. I couldn't speak. I just shook my head, staring at the fire, trying to calm the storm in my chest. That's when I noticed something. The fire didn't crackle. The flames didn't move. And my friends, they weren't blinking. They stood in a perfect circle, their smiles frozen, their eyes wide and glassy. Slowly, their mouths opened in unison. Stay with us. The voices weren't coming from their throats. They were coming from the trees. I ran again, screaming, but the forest never let me go. And if you ever hear your name whispered in hollow pine woods, don't answer. Because it's still calling mine. Story 2, The Red Eyes in Blackwood Forest. Blackwood Forest was quiet that night, unnervingly quiet. The only sound was the crunch of my boots on the frost-coated leaves. The moon hung low, barely piercing the tangled canopy above. My breath came in small white clouds, each one vanishing as quickly as it appeared. I wasn't supposed to be here. Nobody was. The locals called this place cursed. They told stories about people who wandered in after dark and never returned. My father used to warn me when I was a kid, if you see the red eyes, don't run. Don't even breathe. I always laughed. I thought it was a ghost story meant to scare children. But tonight, walking through this suffocating darkness, I wasn't laughing. It started as a simple hike. I'd been on this trail dozens of times during the day, but I lost track of time photographing the autumn trees, and before I knew it, the sun was gone. The path back was harder to follow than I expected. Every tree looked the same. The deeper I went, the more I realized I had no idea where I was. That's when I heard it, a twig snapping behind me. I froze. Slowly, I turned, flashlight cutting through the dark. Nothing. Just trees. My pulse quickened. I told myself it was a deer or a raccoon. Animals live here. That's normal. Then came the second sound, a low growl. Not like a dog. Deeper. Wet, like something dragging across the ground. The sound crawled under my skin, freezing me in place. My flashlight trembled in my grip as I swung it toward the noise. That's when I saw them. Two glowing red orbs floating in the dark. Eyes. They were too high off the ground to belong to any animal I knew. My stomach dropped. The growl came again, louder now, vibrating through the trees. The eyes blinked, slow, deliberate, and then began to move. Not toward me. Around me. Circling. I couldn't breathe. My father's words clawed at my brain. If you see the red eyes, don't run. Don't even breathe. But I ran. Branches whipped at my face as I bolted through the forest, my flashlight beam bouncing wildly. I didn't care where I was going, I just needed to get out. Behind me, I heard the sound of something following. Not footsteps, something heavier, crashing through the trees, moving fast. Too fast. I tripped over a root and slammed into the ground, knocking the wind out of me. Pain shot up my arm. My flashlight rolled away, its beam spinning wildly before settling on the trees. And in that pale circle of light, I saw them. Not just two eyes. Dozens. Red, glowing eyes peering from between the trees, closing in from all directions. They didn't blink now. They just stared, unblinking, hungry. My throat went dry as I realized something. The forest wasn't silent anymore. It was breathing. Slow, deep breaths coming from everywhere at once. The eyes moved closer. I scrambled to my feet and grabbed the flashlight, but when I turned it toward the creatures, they disappeared. Vanished like smoke. My heart thudded like a drum in my chest. I took one shaky step, then another. No eyes. No movement. Then, from behind me, a voice whispered my name that I spun around so fast I almost dropped the light. No one was there. My breath came in sharp gasps. I didn't think. I just ran again, deeper and deeper, until my legs burned and my lungs felt like they were on fire. Finally, I collapsed against a tree, tears stinging my eyes. That's when I saw the cabin. It stood in a small clearing, its roof sagging, its windows black holes in the darkness. It looked abandoned, but right now, it was the only thing keeping me from collapsing in the dirt. I staggered to the door and shoved it open. Inside, the air was thick with the stench of rot. Broken furniture lay scattered across the floor. Cobwebs draped from the ceiling like tattered curtains. I slammed the door shut behind me and pressed my back against it, chest heaving. Safe. For now, dead or so I thought. The whisper came again, louder this time, curling around the room like smoke. You shouldn't have run. My flashlight flickered. The beam swept across the walls, and I froze. Every inch of the wood was carved with names. Hundreds of them, scratched deep into the surface. And above them all, in letters so large they stretched across the ceiling, were two words. We watch. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped the light. Then, from the corner of the room, something moved. A shadow peeled itself from the darkness and stood up, unfolding to its full height. And then another. And another. Until the entire cabin was full of them. Figures with long limbs, hunched backs, and eyes that glowed like burning coals. I turned toward the door, but it was gone. Just a wall where it had been. And then, from the darkness, 100 voices whispered together, soft and cold. You shouldn't have run. The last thing I saw before the light went out were the red eyes, closing in, inches from my face. Story 3, The Thing Beneath the Roots. The rain had just stopped when I entered the forest. The ground was slick with mud, and the smell of wet earth hung heavy in the air. My boots sank with every step, leaving deep impressions along the narrow trail. I wasn't supposed to be here after sunset, but I needed answers. My brother disappeared here 2 weeks ago. The police searched for days, found nothing, then gave up. But I couldn't. He loved this place too much to just vanish. So I came back, flashlight in one hand, his old compass in the other. The deeper I went, the quieter it became. No crickets. No wind. Even the distant sound of water had faded. Just silence, thick, suffocating silence that pressed against my eardrums like cotton. Half an hour in, I found something. His jacket. torn and soaked, hanging from a low branch like someone had draped it there deliberately. My stomach dropped. I reached for it, and froze. There were scratches on the tree trunk. Long, deep grooves, as if made by something with claws. And they weren't random. They formed a shape. A spiral, twisting downward. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. Something was wrong. That's when I heard it. A faint sound, low and wet, like something breathing through water. It came from below me. I crouched, aiming my flashlight at the ground. The beam swept over roots coiled like snakes, slick with rain. Then I saw it, the soil between them was moving. Slowly, rising and falling, like something buried deep beneath was breathing. I stumbled back, my boots slipping in the mud. The earth shifted again, a mound forming between the roots, splitting open with a wet crack. Something pale pushed through the dirt. Fingers, long, thin, gray as ash. I turned and ran. Branches lashed at my face, tore at my jacket. My breath came in ragged gasps. Behind me, I heard the soil erupting, roots snapping, something massive pulling itself free. The forest shook with every movement. I didn't look back. I didn't stop until I saw the light, a small cabin through the trees, just like the one we used to play near as kids. I bolted for it, slammed through the door, and collapsed against the wall. My chest heaved, my hands shaking so bad I dropped the flashlight. That's when I smelled it. Rot. Damp and sickly sweet, like meat left out for days. I gagged, fumbled for my light, and shone it across the floor. And froze. Roots. They were everywhere. Thick and black, crawling through the cracks, snaking across the walls, wrapping around the furniture like veins. Some of them pulsed faintly, as if blood ran through them. Then, from the darkness, something whispered my name. I whipped around, and saw my brother. Or what was left of him. He stood in a corner, head hanging, his skin gray and cracked like bark. His mouth opened, but the sound that came out wasn't his voice. It was the forest. Deep, hollow, endless. It's hungry, it said. The roots moved then, fast as snakes. They coiled around my legs, my arms, yanking me to the ground. I screamed, kicked, clawed at the floor, but they were too strong. They dragged me toward the wall, toward a hole where the roots disappeared into blackness. The last thing I saw before the dark swallowed me was my brother's face, split in a smile too wide for any human mouth. And then the forest breathed in. The forest hides more than shadows. It listens. It waits. And sometimes, it whispers your name. If you ever hear it, don't answer. Just keep walking. Because out there, under the roots and behind the trees, something is always watching, and it's waiting for you. Like, share, and subscribe, if you dare.